88.9. I've drank that, and I feel like I'm drinking something that's like a watered-down whiskey. This is vastly more complex than other things I've tasted it.
So that 0.1
Yeah,
more.
0.1.
And 88.9 sounds like what NPR should be on.
There-
Oh, you're drinking bourbon now. Hello and welcome everyone to episode 29 of The Mashup, the best bourbon conversation you're going to hear all week long. We're your hosts, Michael, Anthony, and Steven. Hello, fellas.
Good evening, ladies.
Ladies.
It's been a couple weeks since we got together.
I know. I actually missed you guys a whole lot because, it's been a long couple of weeks. I feel like.
Yeah, I'd say you and I probably have gone in some opposite directions the last couple weeks as far as what we've been able to do. So
Yeah, this guy goes on vacation again, and I have double hernia surgery, which, I don't want to talk about it too much. I'm just happy to be here.
yeah, I don't want you to relive it, but
Yeah.
I can't imagine you'd have done too well on some of those roller coasters and rides that I was on at Disneyland in California. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't
not.
imagine the.
I mean, getting up off the couch is exciting enough for me. So
a
when it
big-
comes
big
to
step.
that, yeah, big step. So if it came to roller coasters, maybe someday.
So did you at least get some some sympathy from your wife? Did she bring you dinner and stuff on the couch or in bed?
Yeah, getting
Frozen
a little
bag of peas.
frozen bag of peas. That's been my best friend actually. So, a little bit of sympathy.
you
My
go.
parents came down, helped out,
Okay,
did
well,
some.
that's good.
So, I've been out of the mix that way, so that helps a little bit. But I'm eager to get back at it.
All right, well, good.
Well, while you were down in the last couple of weeks, we all had a little bit of homework to do. I was just wondering if we did it. Did we all watch Pappygate on Netflix?
Were you as excited and enthralled as I was when you watched it?
Not really. I mean, it was all right, but at the end, you're kind of like, this is kind of silly. Like compared to the other the other episodes that were on that, the
Heist series.
heist series, it was kind of like, this is a lot of hype over nothing.
Well, I liked it because it was talking locally about, people that you may or may not know, and it was right down the road. I just found it odd the things they were selling. Like, they were selling bottles of Eagle Rare. And when this happened, was it 2011? Or,
Yes.
Yeah, something like that.
Or 2013 or something? And
Yeah.
why are they selling Eagle Rare when at that point you can go to the store and just pick it up from the shelf easily?
That was a moment for me where when I watched it, and first of all, I got to give you guys props because did you watch both the other ones too, the other heist?
I watched the.
I watched part of the first one.
I watched the armored car one, the first episode 1 and 2. I haven't watched
Okay.
3 and 4 yet.
Well, I actually just skipped ahead to Bourbon King and did not watch the other ones, and so I will take your word for it, Michael, when you said that this one paled in comparison. But that was a moment for me too because I guess I don't know the history as well to know like what things were like, but I do know that I moved here in 2011 and I could get those bourbons on the shelf. I couldn't get Pappy, but I could get Eagle Rare, I could get Blanton's, and so the fact that they sort of started by selling Pappy
And Buffalo Trace was
and
another.
Buffalo Trace. Well, I don't know if it was that they actually sold Buffalo Trace, but
And who wants a whole barrel of wild turkey? Like,
Yeah,
that's,
I guess just the brag that you have a barrel of bourbon.
I
yeah.
guess. I mean,
No, I thought that I have a one really good buddy who watched it and told me how to talk about it, and I haven't talked to him yet, and I'm wondering if he feels the same way we do. But when they crossed over and there's like we were selling Pappy and now we're selling bottles of Blanton's and Eagle Rare, I kind of just my red flags went up and I was like, what the hell's going on here? I really did. I didn't have no idea. So
Yeah, it was just the year they were talking and the bourbon brands that were hot and like secretly being sold. I'm like, you can buy this in the shelf. But the one thing I really didn't like were the 2 main characters.
oh yeah.
I thought the dude that worked at the distillery was real sleazy. And some of his comments, like, is like, if you're telling me you could do this and you didn't do it and you wouldn't, come on. I'm like, really? That's
Yeah. The old everyone else is doing it, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's
kind of
okay.
thing.
right,
And then-
yeah.
And then the police chief or whoever, that he just seemed he was for himself.
Yeah.
And I didn't really like him either.
Well, I didn't like the acting. I thought it was terrible. As a former baseball player, and played some softball.
Oh, the
And I was
softball.
like, that's so cheesy looking. I was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. I got this guy with his helmet on. Looked like that was terrible. It was awful. But so
Well, as a former baseball player, what do you think about steroids for softball league?
that was stupid. Like
I was gonna
it
say
was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Like
yeah.
like I don't understand what the point of that was.
Yeah, I've played on softball teams here in Lexington, probably maybe 4 or 5 years I played, and I've seen some guys that take it very seriously. But to think that there was somebody out there, juicing to play softball is
Rec league,
rec league kind of softball
Yeah,
for
and I
sales
mean,
is a little crazy.
There was a time 10 or 12 years ago where I was in some pretty high level softball games, around the state, and Frankfurt wasn't exactly like the hot spot for softball either. So there weren't any like all-star teams coming out of Frankfurt. So
Yeah, I know.
didn't see the juice dudes. Plus there were guys on my team that weighed like 130 pounds that could hit home run anytime they wanted. So I don't think
I was gonna say right.
I don't think really the steroids do you much good in that, especially when a lot of those tournaments have limits on how many home runs you can hit anyway. So you only hit 2 home runs in a game. First 2 batters hit them, and the rest of the game there's nothing. So
Yeah, there's a lot of suspect things.
And what do you feel, Michael, being the baseball star that you were, about them trying to, hit basically the nuts of the pitcher?
oh yeah, that starts a lot of fights. I don't believe that was I don't believe that to be that true at all. Because I mean, that's a good way to get in a fight with the other team for sure.
Maybe that's what they wanted to do, though.
I don't know, maybe, but I just can't imagine wanting to do that. The guy's standing 40 feet from you, throwing a ball that you're trying to hit. Like,
That's pretty funny.
yeah.
One other quick thing that I need to know what you guys think about is, do you think Buffalo Trace was involved in the production of that? Because one thing that really shocked me a little bit is I was expecting to see like very fake renditions of bottles, and I saw things that looked very real. I haven't gone back and rewatched it to see if they were like slightly off. But when I saw cases of Eagle Rare and bottles that look like real Van Winkle labels and stuff, I thought to myself, like, is Buffalo Trace capitalizing on this? And that really kind of, sent my mind in about 100 different directions.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, they definitely were in on this. I mean, because now, think about how much people are gonna want that stuff. Not that they already don't, but like they'll be looking for that Eagle Rare now. Put that label out there.
The props looked good.
Yeah.
But I just figured they were actual. I mean, I see what you're saying. Like, where are they going to get, cases or a pallet of 20 year that was in the locked area of the storage facility? But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess they could just be props. They print the label and they just throw it on whatever bottle and it's done.
Yeah, it's possible. But then you see, like, on the internet that, Mark Brown is sending emails out to people that are websites that are putting, bottles of, the Blanton's Antique Collection that we joked about a couple weeks ago. Those are on websites, and they're getting sent cease and desist letters. And I'm like, if that's happening, then maybe, they are protecting the trademarks and stuff. So I got to wonder about whether they are involved. But, oh, well.
Yeah, I'm sure they got consent, but
They had to.
Well, fellas, tonight we have a bottle of Crown Royal Noble Collection Blender's Mash.
Oh, this one is very exciting for me, and I'll tell you why. Because this bottle is actually from the Crown Royal Distillery, which is very well known, and it was bottled in 2018. It has an ABV of 45%, which means it's 90 proof. It's 13 years old. The mash bill is very bourbon-like. So it's 60% corn, 36% rye, and 4% malted barley. And the MSRP on this one was $60 back then. I will say this bottle, when it was released, was not without controversy because Crown Royal released a 13-year version and they released a regular sort of version of this, and they called it Bourbon Mash. And then something happened with the actual TTB and the trademark, and they weren't allowed to call it Bourbon Mash, and so they actually went ahead and tried to replace, very shoddily, the labels that said Bourbon Mash with Blender's Mash. And so Mike will be talking about the bottle here in a moment, but the bottle, when I got it on the tube that came with it, it actually had a sticker over top of it that said Blender's Mash, and when you peeled it off, then it said Bourbon Mash underneath, which was pretty interesting. So,
Well, yeah, the bottle says Bourbon Mash on it, so it's a good looking bottle. I mean, it's got the purple bag that Crown Royal comes with.
yeah.
I'm sure all of our Louisville fans out there would love the Crown Royal because that seems to be their drink of choice when you see them tailgating. You know what I think about bourbon that's not made in Kentucky or not locally, so
Absolutely.
you know that's probably going to set it for me. But hey, it's got a good cork. You probably heard Steven's pop earlier.
It sounded great.
Nice wide mouth on it with a good solid real cork with a nice wood.
Good chugging.
Yeah, it does have a good handle. Like you can really handle this thing.
Yeah.
And but Crown Royal is one of those things that kind of looks fancier than it really is. You know what I mean? Like the purple bag and the name Crown Royal and all that kind of stuff. So not much to the bottle though, other than just saying Crown Royal and being a noble collection. So clearly it's very very high class.
What do you think? I like the wood bottom of it. It almost looks like
It's got like a
diamond feel.
diamond
like a
cut.
little crystal looking to
It
it.
looks like diamond crystals.
I mean, I say anything that looks like that IB Harper bottles. It's good on my book.
You do like that bottle.
I do like that,
It
even though
does
it's kind of like an
sort
Art Deco.
Yeah.
Are you going to save this purple bag and make a quilt out of it or something?
Of course, I save all my Crown Royal bags, and you know what they do? They sit in a drawer. I have no real purpose.
Well, it looks
for
like
them,
it would
but
have
I mean, I would put
gold coins in it.
Scrabble pieces.
There you go. That's
Yeah.
perfect.
Could put some gold coins in it. Look like a pirate or something carrying this little bag around. So I'm sure that the what was the last thing you said? What's it called? Malted barley, right?
Yeah.
That seems to stand out to me whenever I try. We've tried anything that has malted barley in it. So we'll see how that goes.
I'm interested in that too because traditionally Canadian whiskey is very heavily rye, and so to have something that is more of a standard bourbon mash bill, and that's why I think they called it Bourbon Mash when they released it, is because it really was aged in new white oak and everything else. They really tried to create what would be a bourbon feel and flavor here. I am interested to see what it tastes like.
Okay, so I don't really know anything about Crown Royal other than it's Canadian whiskey and all that kind of stuff. But I know we were in Mexico, and so you think tequila, rum, at the bar, and so I go and look at the rum, and they're using Barton rum, right, which is basically produced 50 miles down the road from us. So here you are in a Caribbean country where rum should be your number one thing, and they make it in Kentucky. What about is Crown Royal purely Canadian, or do they just is it kind of like what's the one that they use, the one that they make in Buffalo Trace, the Canadian whiskey that looks like a Blanton's but has a Rock Hill Farm bottle?
What is that? You got it, Caribou.
Caribou, that's it. Yeah, I don't think it's really I think it's all done there. I'm not sure, but
I think it is, and I'll just say this: from my knowledge of Crown Royal, they had the Seagram's distillery. They have a couple up in Canada in different places. I think there's one. I could be wrong about this. There's definitely one with Gimli, and by Winnipeg, Manitoba, and then there's also one I think close to Ontario. I could be mistaken, but I think that the old MGP distillery was originally Seagram's distillery as well. But of course, it was sold to MGP, and they make all kinds of stuff there. So I think the Crown Royal had a pretty large footprint, but a lot of these Canadian whiskeys where people right now are missing is that they're going to be making their way into a lot of different bottles, especially from bourbon distillers, and you're not going to know where they come from because there's a lot of distilleries that were defunct and have gone under or been bought by other entities in Canada, and they're I know Preservation Distillery has bought a lot of Canadian whiskeys lately, and there's a big mystery as to where they've come from, but there's a lot of stock sitting up there. We don't really know.
Hey, shout out to the Canadians. They just opened their border back up the other day, I saw.
They're probably going to be shutting it down real soon.
They probably will be, but,
Speaking of the Caribou, is it Caribou Crossing? Is that the name of it?
Yes.
Okay, since you said it was bottled at Buffalo Trace, probably in the Blanton's building, do their little Caribou stoppers, is that like a collection?
They do different ones, yeah.
Oh, so it actually
similar,
spells out?
Because there's some of them that are like a maple leaf, and some of them are a moose. But I don't think it's quite as long. But there's a couple of them.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like the moose just moving around.
I don't think mooses move that much. Not like horses. You ever seen a moose race?
I think they used to have a maple leaf.
Yeah,
Actually,
I've seen a moose fight each other.
Have you? Well, that's what they should have. Then they
Yeah,
should have
two of
some
them.
that are turned the other way, and you can
you could fight.
lock horns, right?
Yeah. I think they had a maple leaf, but I also think that like
I know I had a maple
Sazerac literally just bought a Canadian distillery. I don't think that I think they're still importing it, as far as I know.
I don't know. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Well,
I
Jim,
just know when you see Barton rum and in Mexico, you think, really, that's what you're going to do to me? You know?
I mean, they wish to pick up the Caribbean.
I mean,
would
at
think.
least.
At least. I mean, at the
You know?
furthest. They
Yeah.
should-
Yeah, that's bootleg.
You'd
I
think
agree.
you'd think
It's
it'd be
bootleg.
cheaper buying some of this stuff down there where they don't have all the rules that we have here. But
Well, should we go for our first notes of this Canadian whiskey?
Yes, for sure.
let's go for it.
Very, very interesting nose and a good way, like a very sharp nose.
Yeah,
And picking up. What are you
I
picking
agree.
up?
You know, right off the bat, it's a strong. I get a strong vanilla,
Yeah,
and I get very nutty from it.
nuts, dark fruit. Also,
A little bit of raisin.
yeah, the raisin definitely is.
I mean, the caramel comes through, obviously, but I feel like the vanilla is really, really strong.
Yeah, it's very pleasing, and I think about bagels. So I don't know how much you guys like bagels, but when you have a cinnamon raisin bagel, it's kind of what I'm smelling on the nose here. So that bakedness, baked good, sort of buttery. Yeah,
Now, it's been quite a few years since I've actually had straight up Crown Royal. And this is a nice 13-year-old bottle. Do we feel there's more to this than the Crown Royal? I mean, when's the last time you guys had Crown Royal normal?
The last time I had Crown Royal was today.
Oh,
This is also the first time.
Oh.
So
I think I
can't
used to
help
have
hear
it when I would go to a restaurant, back in college. And instead of a Makers and Coke, I sometimes get a Crown and Coke.
Back when he had the line beard.
well, of course you did, because you're Italian. I'm Greek, and Italians and Greeks drink Crown Royal. So that's something we got in
Oh, do
common
they?
there. They do, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, one of the biggest things. I mean, Canadian Club and Crown Royal were two of the whiskeys of choice growing up. But I'm pretty familiar with regular Crown, and this is not anything in the same profile with regular Crown, in my opinion.
I mean, this feels pretty complex. Just from the note. I mean, there's a lot of smells going on.
You know what I got right here?
Yep.
I got a candle.
a candle.
You know how like you have like a it's got a name like bourbon something candle, and
Yes.
usually you smell those things like at the store, and you're like, I didn't smell like bourbon.
Yeah.
That's what this smells like. It smells like one of those candles.
I agree with that. It's like the bourbon, vanilla, pine tree, whatever you
Yeah,
want to call
exactly.
it, candle.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is cool because I think that is back to the complexity that Steven was talking about.
Well, this was a 2018 release, and I think it was the last episode we did a little theory that maybe 2018 might have been a strong year overall for bourbons based on a couple of bottles that we just coincidentally noticed that it was 2018 and how delicious and complex they were. So I wonder if this is picks up any of that.
If that's the case, then that would be an amazing discovery because you got to understand is for all I know about this was aged in Canada. And being aged in Canada, we know that the climate there is, we talked about about Ohio being
yeah.
different. Canada is vastly different. We're talking about some really cold winters and not very warm summers. So it's possible. Maybe it was just a really good year for stuff.
Oh, should we go for our first taste? It's enjoyable. I know we don't talk about this, but that's a good mouthfeel.
It does. It's got like a nice oily, coats the mouth completely. It's interesting because I didn't pick up a lot of the rye notes on the
Not much spice.
yeah, and then on the taste though. I mean
That too,
the
yeah.
nose. I didn't pick it up, but there's a good amount of spice from that 34% rye in the taste.
Well, I was right. I can taste the malted barley.
At just 4%.
It's just 4%. It's just got that little bit of, I don't know how to explain it, but it's the same thing we had in the wet bluegrass distillers, and then also when I've had the Hartfield and Company one here.
Do you think it sweetens it up, or does it create? Because
Not
I've
real
often
sure
wondered,
what
do
it
you
is.
think
It's
it
not
does?
I don't think it's a sweet, but just like a crackery kind of.
Okay.
I guess it's sweet. Crackery comment moves to like a cookie kind of.
Yeah, it's like I guess the best way to put it for me and what I've settled on is like some kind of a baked good. and that's what I pick up a little bit on top of the vanilla translates over. You get a little bit of caramel. You got some dark fruit, but you really do get a little bit of a baking note. I don't know if it's baking spices or if it's a malted barley, but it's tasty. I like it. It's very good.
This has been real enjoyable to drink.
Yeah, it's smooth. I mean, here's the thing: if something's 90 proof, we've all had plenty of 90 proof stuff
Right.
where we've drank it. I mean, I'll give you guys a good parallel. Hancock's. What is Hancock's? 88.9. That's
It's a
single
radio
barrel.
station. Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah,
what it is.
88.9. I've drank that, and I feel like I'm drinking something that's like a watered down whiskey. This is vastly more complex than other things I've tasted it.
So that 0.1
Yeah,
more
0.1,
and 88.9 sounds like what NPR should be on.
There-
Absolutely.
You're drinking bourbon now.
I love that.
Sounds like you should. It should be like one of those like WHAN there, Hancock's 88.9.
We're getting into the radio stations now. We should do that. Should be like a thing. Give the call letters.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we're streaming live on Hancock's radio.
WTMU,
What's
I don't know. I missed that one.
WTMU?
the mashup.
Oh yeah.
I gotcha.
I gotcha. That's great. I like that.
So, fellas, would you pass, try, or buy on this bottle of Crown Royal Noble Collection 13-year Blender's Mash?
Well, I will say this. I had the regular version of this, which you got to understand. The regular Blender's Mash was something that, again, because it was relabeled, a lot of people bought. It wasn't as good as this is. And I actually, after not having drank this for a long time, I kind of miss it. And so I am actually a buy on this one. I really enjoy it, and I'm glad that we reviewed it because I kind of forgot what it tastes like. It's been so long since I had it. So I'm a solid buy on this one, especially at the price.
What was the price?
60.
60. I'm a pass. I think it's good, but at the same time, there's just too many good bourbons, and I like a local bourbon, so I'm just going to pass on it for that reason. But it is good though. Like, I mean, if you have it at your house, I'll try it.
Well, the bottle is very pretty.
Oh,
We're going to start there.
okay.
I'm going to be a buy on this.
Ooh.
I enjoy drinking it tonight. It's an interesting looking bottle for your collection at home, and it's 13 years. So with that, I will buy.
You see what just happened there, Michael? The Greeks and Italians united
I
around
know, look at
Crown
that.
Royal. Whoa. It might not be breaking news, but there it is. That's how it goes.
The Italians just pumped that they finally won a track gold medal for the first time in like 40 years,
Yeah.
even though
That's
the guy
true.
was born in Texas.
Oh, he was?
All these
What is
all these
that?
athletes are somewhere else.
That doesn't mean anything,
I think his dad was like military, he married an
Okay.
Italian lady, so
Well, I think, you're Irish, right?
yeah.
Yeah, you're Irish. Steven's Italian. I'm Greek. We're all born here, but you know what? We're all very much countrymen for our places. So,
But I would thoroughly pass on an Irish whiskey. So
oh, there you go. See,
About Irish Scotch.
there's no Jameson in my house.
well, you won't see many Greeks and Italians passing on this delicious Canadian whiskey. There you go.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
I saw that tonight. I will say that Crown Royal was always present in college, so maybe that's like a gateway whiskey, right? For like the younger crowd,
Yeah.
because again, it feels expensive, but it's not really, So maybe that's
I mean, yeah, like I said, it was kind of a Maker's Mark substitute for me.
right.
Just
yeah,
Yeah,
and sometimes I actually enjoyed it more than Maker's Mark with Coke.
yeah.
It just had a different, flavor to it.
we probably had 3, maybe 4 whiskeys, like in college that I would see people bounce around. You would have Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, Southern Comfort, and Crown Royal, right? So
Yeah.
that was kind of what we saw,
Yep.
And so so maybe that's part of my my deal with it too.
No, I agree, and I also think that the way Crown Royal has been handling their premium line is something to be watched at the very least, because they had the XR, which was from the Waterloo distillery, that had a fire, and so there wasn't any of those barrels left. They had some really limited bottlings of the Crown XR Red, and those are very sought after. And I know my uncle has some. My brother had one on his wedding, and we're not talking about just some college whiskey, but that's where it started for me. I mean, we really, it became like a thing. My really close friend Mike, his dad was big into Crown Royal, and so I have a soft spot for it, definitely. And I definitely think that this premium extension, the Noble Collection, is one that's very welcome, because I know they've had other releases. I think they had a cognac, and they also this past year had a rye release that was 16 years old. And so I think that they're making waves to extend themselves beyond it. But I definitely think that when I think of Crown Royal, I think about that's one of the whiskeys I started on. I mean, for
people
100%.
love their Crown Royal Peach too.
Oh yeah, don't forget
that. Comes
that.
out like
That
in
was
the
a big
spring or
hit.
summer.
Oh,
that was a
Lord.
huge hit. Like I was down in, I guess it was when we were down in Florida it was the spring break. I guess it was coming out, and I walked in. I was in a liquor store, and a lady came like flying in, like, "Hey, I heard you had Crown Royal Peach," and I'm just like, "Okay, go ahead, lady. You can go ahead and buy all the Crown Royal Peach you want there. I'm gonna hit this ancient age up that's on the bottom shelf." And so
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny about Crown Royal Peach? Like, that's got its own cult following, but they had a Northern Harvest Rye, which was around $25 that they put out that was really good. They've other things like Monarch and other line extensions. They do a lot of things that are very desirable, at least anyway, to a person who's primarily a bourbon and rye drinker, that I'm excited to try their products a lot. I mean, which I can't say that about everybody. I'm not trying to go buy a Canadian Club.
it sounds
even though I
like
drink it a lot,
Anthony wants to start a Crown Royal podcast.
I might. You think?
He's gonna buy the verticals.
He could find it under the.
I guess on
the
Crown
mashup
Royal
on-
it's more like horizontals.
exactly.
They have apple, don't they?
Yeah, they do have
That's right.
apple. Yeah.
The Washington apple shot. Ooh, one time at a Cleveland Browns game, no good.
Ugh.
Yeah, I had a
What
couple of
the
those.
Browns game or the shot?
No, the shot during the Browns game at the club level was not good. Yeah, I think I ended up
Yeah,
not
I
in
don't-
good shape
doesn't
that
sound
time.
good to me.
Yeah.
I don't like anything apple.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Apple fritter donut.
Yeah, I do like those.
Those are good.
I will just say that I'm not for anything that is not sanctioned drinking. Like, I like to sit down and enjoy a drink, and when someone's like, "Here, just take this shot," and then they're like, "Here, take this shot," not good with me. I'm not for that. I don't care. That's not my goal when I'm drinking. My goal
So you're
is
not
to
taking the
taste
shot
good.
out of the test tube when the girls walking around the club with the
Or-
test
or
tubes
roosters.
roosters that's glowing.
Yeah, it's got to be a special mood for me to do that.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
It's not happening usually for me. I like to drink at my own pace.
Well, you wouldn't have handled Steven in Mexico very well then, because he was just passing out shots to everybody.
Yeah, I would just go and I would as many.
People
as I
would be
could-
like,
as many
"What
as
is
I
this?"
could-
You're like, "I don't know.
I don't know. Just drink
I don't know.
it.
We just told the bartender to make it something fun."
And I said,
give
make-
us something good.
as many as I can carry.
Oh, nice.
I mean, it was more than we had people.
Well, I will say that on vacation and special occasions, there's times that you get carried away, but like, I usually am still like I just like to go my own pace if I can, But I want to be a part of that. More on vacation with you guys next year. Look
Next
out.
summer.
And with that, thanks for listening to this week's edition. Please like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Mashup KY. Also, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Until next time, keep it neat.